It all started with one man that believed the backbone of America was in hospitality and created a company with heart, the heart of America. And one of the key players who he entrusted with his vision was Scott Math, the Vice President of Operations for the Heart of America. In this episode, Scott will teach us everything we need to know about soft brands, how much they cost, why we should invest in a soft brand, and what we should expect from a soft brand franchise. All this and more on this episode of True Hotel Leaders, where leaders teach leaders. Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan of Hotel. And today we got with us the great Scott Math. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, it's a beautiful day. Thank you for the opportunity to visit.
Oh, anytime. We're glad you're here with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on this episode of True Hotel Leaders, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite subject because it's new, and especially my favorite subject right now, soft brands. And we have the man that has did it too many times. He knows the math on soft brands hotels.
Absolutely.
So, I ask everybody in the industry, how did you get started?
Absolutely. It was a high school job. Same company, 37 years ago, actually.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So I started off as a busboy when I was in high school, and then continued from hosting to you name it in the restaurant while I was going through college, studying business and education, but then continued with just a passion for this industry and being able to serve others and make every day feel like it was, I'm inviting guests to a party, right?
That's right.
And so every day was fun. So that's how pretty much started. And as I mentioned, worked in pretty much every position I could in a restaurant, and including being an assistant manager, what have you, and as well as then getting the opportunity I wanted to learn more, and we were blessed with this company, Heart of America Group, to have the opportunity the ball was in our court. So whatever we wanted to learn, we had such a great culture of learning. That's what drove the culture of excellence. And so got into the hotel side of things at a Little Comfort Inn, roadside highway hotel way back in the day in
Nice.
the early 90s. So, and then just progressed from there. I've done, from sales to operations and all that. So just love serving folks, and more importantly, developing people to have that passion for this industry.
What's so crazy is that a majority of the people that I talk to that are at the top executive levels, they at least half of them start off as busboys.
Yes, busboys, and even our chefs in our kitchens start off as dishwashers, because it's somebody that took them under their wing as well and taught them something new. And training isn't so structural as you might find in a corporate world. You've been here so long now, you're going to learn this. For us, is we see somebody that has that little twinkle in their eye wanting to do something more, and it makes it more of an organic environment and being able to learn as they go. And then you see that passion, and they can actually believe in themselves doing something great.
All right, so you heard that. So if you have a general manager position and you're looking to get to the top, you need a part-time job as a busboy.
There you go. Exactly.
Now, soft brands is kind of new, and it's the new sexy thing to do. And, from an operations side, I get it. But why do franchises want to offer more soft brands versus their traditional franchises?
I can't really speak on behalf of them, but I would say it would be seeing the success of owners and operators such as ourselves, and creating something unique and given the design freedoms. And when they start seeing it being success and seeing the comments from guests are going, wow, this isn't cookie cutter, even when it might be a Holiday Inn or whatever the flag might be, or whatever global name we might have, it had Heart of America style and flair. And so it got them excited, and I believe when you start seeing it from a guest standpoint, they don't want to be in something that is just like everything else, and is in a box. And every, Holiday Inn looks the same, every Express looks the same, or Courtyard Fairfield. There's some things with that consistency. But when you walk in, you want to feel like, I know where I'm at,
Exactly.
And when you have that ability of being able to give back also to the community that you call home, because then it fits in with that niche as well. So we have several hotels that might not be in part of the soft brand that really represent the community that they call home. And when we can get people to walk in, like our guests, go, wow, this doesn't look like any other holiday I've been in, we know we've done something right. So I think the brands have adjusted for that because they see the need and the want of the business traveler and the leisure traveler to be able to go, wow, this is really neat. It's all about the experience, right? That's how it all started in hospitality.
For sure, for sure. I actually was able to talk to a couple of franchise directors and VPs, and everyone is really on the boutique wave. Like the boutique hotels are becoming way too strong, way too powerful, way too fast. So in order for them to regain that market share, like, okay, we have to do something. We can't just lose all our franchises and to all these boutique hotels like Citizen M and a bunch of other ones that are like just taking the market by storm.
Yeah, that is so true, Bruce. I tell you, and that is, so I think it's the best of both worlds. Getting the design and experience freedoms, but then you're also part of a bigger flag. And, you have their operating systems, you have the brand recognition, so if you have a Hilton Tapestry, but you get to give it its own name, its own flair. It balances it all out, rather than with today's day and age of, being able to put what you have and all your offerings and the technology now. A lot of the boutiques, they might want to stay in it so they don't lose into complete independence.
Exactly. And then of course there's the rewards program.
Yes.
They get to go to a boutique hotel and they still get the rewards points.
Absolutely, and that's really the key, and that's a great driver. So you get those benefits, and when you do have that soft brand and that feel and the decor, and people are able to look around and go, wow, this is neat. That really makes a huge difference, and they still get all of the other benefits with it.
Now, what are some of the benefits for like owners and operators that you've seen compared to being in a regular box?
Sure, and I think part of it is increased occupancy, because what you end up seeing is that higher end traveler that appreciates that type of style, and then also ADR, is another angle of it all. But I think it's also really fun. When you really can build something cool, and to us, that's the delight, and where the staff have a great place to work that isn't, hey, guess who I'm a part of, rather than, oh, it's a Holiday or it's a Hilton or what have you. It's part of something. Yes, we're part of that global, but we're also, this is who we are, and it gives them something distinct to be a part of, both the guests as well as the staff. So there's a lot of great retention opportunities for owners, as well as, return guests because of the experience and the flair.
Especially for the guests, like when they're online or looking at the hotel, I found out that a lot of them, they don't even know that it's a soft brand. They think it's like a new brand that they've never been to before. Like, oh, I gotta go check it out. Like, like it's like the Moxie or something. Like they think it's something new, but they don't realize that it's just a boutique hotel within the fold. So I bet that works out a lot.
That does
better
too.
For occupancy.
Absolutely. When you do look at it, I think it's that fear of missing out, that we all kind of have a little bit, and we get engaged on. It's like, I need to try this place. Everybody's going here. It's something new, and it definitely brings in a lot of excitement, but we really enjoy having an opportunity to present something that is so unique, and in a day and age that word might be overused. But if it becomes cookie cutter in that box shape, then we become a commodity.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, everybody's got this, everybody's got that. But when a guest can come in and go, this is really neat, and I got to be a part of it, that makes it fun.
Tell me about the design freedom that you have that you may not have as a franchise, and how does that work as far as the bottom line?
Absolutely. We've been blessed at Heart of America. Our owners are very involved with the design. We do everything from the beginning to the end. We have our own architect team. We have our own design team, which is led up by our owner's wife. And, so we've been regardless if we've been a regular brand or not, we try to push the envelope and definitely have higher end quality product so it stands the test of the time, and try to be as classic as we can to the areas and the allotment that the franchises will permit. But one of the things is when we can say, we look at high end quality when it comes to custom designed carpeting, wall fixtures. commissioned artwork, because that tells the rest of the story. But it costs a little bit more up front, or a lot more sometimes because you're investing, right? But we look at it as an investment, right? And it gives the guests something to appreciate. And when you can look at custom art or custom furnishings, that really goes a long way. And so bottom line side, it creates top line revenue, and that's the biggest key, because we all know busier hotels and restaurants are easier to operate, but
That's right.
for the most part. But yeah, I think when you look at it and you invest it and you go high end, people really truly appreciate that, and they can value that.
Now, as far as like the amenities, what are some of the things that you could offer that a regular box hotel can
Sure.
offer?
So a lot of it is, we will find, you'll find, like in this particular Hilton Tapestry, obviously here at the Rewind, we'll have, the Hilton's, TV offering package. We'll have the internet requirements and all of that people have come to appreciate, as well as the loyalty reward program. But when you look at the items in the rooms and all of that, we'll have some of those packages, the bedding at the topper tier, as well as the amenities in there. One of our other locations will have like Beekman products.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can have some of those other offerings that'll go, above and beyond, is a really nice touch. So in here too, having the robes in the rooms, and just some of the things that maybe over the time periods have kind of gone away from some locations, we have here, and again, so that experience not only is that you walk in and have the really neat artwork and all that, everything that you touch and feel in the room as well goes to that next level. Comes with investment, but it's well worth it.
Do you have like some of the concerns that like a regular franchise will have, like an amenity creep? Or they come out with a new logo when you have to change spend $100,000 to change all your signs. Like, are those still exist? Or?
Yeah, they still will, but for here, the Hilton Tapestry product, what's nice about that is you have your own logo, you have your own sign, but then it's by Hilton, and so on. So for this particular location, it is good. But yeah, if they all of a sudden, I think with any franchise, you do look at what's next, right? And it has a huge investment. And more importantly, who's making the decision? Is based on what the guests are saying, or is it because somebody's like, oh, we need to do this? Or here's an offering we get from a vendor that might be able to, participate with them, and then this will be better. I would say, there's always that fear, okay, here's the one more thing we need to do, or the one more giveaway, and what's the value add to it? Because we're going to listen to the guest, first.
They're the boss.
And then, yeah, absolutely. They're the ones that, we want coming back through those doors every single visit.
Exactly.
Not feel that we've taken something from them, but we've given something back. And, because that's really what hospitality is, right? We're here to make everybody's day better, whether it's the clients that do business with us or the guests that walk in, and including our staff. And I'd say, with the amenity creep, it's like, what is important now? I mean, going back to like the Comfort Inn days when I started, we didn't have a breakfast, right? we did one on our own. We delivered cinnamon rolls from the Iowa machine shed, for our own frequent flyer program, if you will, a frequent stay program called Midwest Partners back in the day. And we delivered cinnamon rolls and coffee to rooms that were members of this. And then we'd have coffee in the lobby, and that was pretty much the extent. And it's like, okay, add donuts, okay, then add this, and then all of a sudden now you've got a full-blown breakfast.
There you go. There you go.
And
you're IHOP now.
Yeah, we're IHOP. It's like, well, why isn't and I'd say too, looking at some of the brands and how they differentiate themselves from each other. You have a Holiday Inn, you have a Holiday Inn Express. Well, Express includes breakfast, Holiday Inns don't. And as soon as somebody walks into a Holiday Inn, they're like, well, why don't I get free breakfast? I get them all the time at an Express. And it's like, well, this one's not. It's full service, and so it's part of the educating of the consumer. But it is all of a sudden everything's expected to be included, and then airport shuttles, even if you're not an airport hotel.
Yeah.
All of this starts beginning to add into part of the price of the room, and I'm a big believer. I don't want to, because if we build that price in there, everybody's going to have to pay for things that they don't necessarily utilize. And I like having that customized experience for that particular guest, and that, I think that makes a big difference when they can pick and choose and add to their experience rather than well, I paid for something I didn't really use.
Exactly. Like a new sign.
Yeah, like a new sign. Yeah, the signs,
New logo.
Yeah, I remember when we first joined with Holiday Inn, we was right at the cusp of them changing the logo, the signage and the logos and all of that. And by the time we were going to be open, they were getting ready to roll it out and be within like months, but they wanted the old sign up.
Yeah.
And then we changed the sign. And it's like, but we could really help relaunch this together, and I think really when we look at our relationships with our franchisors is how do we partner together to really stand apart and really continue to provide the hospitality and the service that our guests deserve. So
I don't know if I could call it a relationship. I think it's more like a marriage.
Yeah.
The wife says we need to do this, and us men say, okay, we'll get it done. I was at Burger King. I was driving by Burger King, and I seen that their signs had changed, and I'm like, that's not a sign change. That was the same sign they had back in like the 80s and 90s. Like, why are they bringing this back?
Went back to what worked. I don't know, and realizing the sign really isn't the experience, right? Yeah, the logo, yeah, it is the business's signature or autograph, if you will, but again, it's not so much what's on the sign or what's that. It's about the heart and soul and the people inside it, and everything that they deliver, including the experience of the things that the guests can touch and feel.
Exactly. Now, as far as soft brands, what is the reservation system like? Is everything the same? Like, how does the whole reservation process and the front desk experience and everything, does that flow the same, or is there just different standards?
Great question, Bruce. And yeah, you're exactly right. It is all the same, right?
Okay.
So, which is a really great privilege. And I think one of the things that owners can get excited about is, it's for Hilton on Q. It's everything else looks very similar. The guest experience when they go to book, on the online side of things, same experience, so it's something that they've become accustomed and the feel and the users and the minimum amount of clicks in order to book the room is all exactly the same. So that part does add a lot of value from an ownership side of things. Same thing with the loyalty program, and Hilton Honors and your Tapestry soft brand, it goes a long way. So that definitely sets a great tone.
And the audits.
Yes.
Is the audit the same?
Well, obviously, yeah. So you'll still have your quality that you have to go through, which they're looking for cleanliness and certain standards, and you hit a certain uniform and all that. But you're not going to go and get hit on because our design package is different.
Okay.
It's part of the program. But there's certain things that we have to adhere to. And the important ones, obviously, for us is always life safety, and all of that is always the same. But in this day and age, if you're not doing that already, why are you in business?
There you
right?
go. There you go.
Same thing with the cleanliness, and if you're rude at the desk or anything along those lines. I don't need somebody that came in on one day to do a QA to tell me that this isn't quite right, and that doesn't tell the whole story.
There you go.
But at the end of the day, the guest is going to know, and if they don't return, then that's an issue. We're going to feel it. So it is so important to do it right and have that culture of excellence each and every day that we do something, because it's really easy to go through with a QA and there's something on the floor, and well, the guest that just walked by is the one that dropped it or smudged it. You're going to take points. Those are head scratchers sometimes. Because I know too, when I come into a hotel that I support, is you can tell recent dirt or recent something versus okay, this has maybe been overlooked for a little while. And then correcting and coaching. And how do we partner with that rather than going, found something, now you might get a fine. Find something, you might get a fine. Those things, those are definitely detractors. But I'd say I think having the freedoms in the design package helps a lot. And allowing us to go take that quality level to the next standard. So,
what about the vendors? Like, do you still have to do all the mandatory vendors that they have, or are you able to pick and choose what actually works for your guest?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mix on that. So obviously the vendors with the bedding, and when you look at internet access and different things along those lines, yes, use this guy, and so on. They'll say, okay, if you want a carpet design, it's got to be this quality. Here are your two from which to choose. and then we can move forward on that. But then the freedoms and the patterns and all of that and the finished goods, as long as they want to know that we're not putting less quality product on the walls.
Correct. Correct.
So most folks that want to do this that are hoteliers and restaurateurs, they're going to invest in that in the front end anyway, because it's money up front, and unless you have to do it over and over again, the better.
There you go.
And so on. So but yeah, there is still the you use this vendor and so on. I'd like to see it more, because each market's a little bit different. Some vendors do a really good job in some markets, and they might be a little thinner in others, which at the end of the day can hurt our experience. And if we have to chase things and it's taking time away from our guests because we're, in a battle of, hey, this isn't working, it'd be better to have maybe more of the, here's the standard, this is the minimum, say for internet. Here's the minimum bandwidth, here's the minimum, everything's synchronous and so on, fiber, and hey, if we meet all those standards, can we choose the local vendor that is going to produce, has less downtime, has quicker service and response? Those are the things we'd love to have the freedoms with, because at the end of the day, it's our money that pays for it, or our guests suffer if it's not up in time. So I like to see a little more fluidity with that. So that is a good question. But.
My number one concern is, and it's everyone's concern, it's restrictions, especially when it comes to other income, or rate restrictions that like some franchises have. Do you still experience that on a soft brand with those restrictions, or?
So meaning?
For instance, if let's say if it's an economy hotel, but it's a soft brand, they may cap your rate, or you can't charge over this, or you can't charge for parking, or you can't charge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Those type of things. Okay, so no, that's a good point. No, we have no cap, which is nice. Beautiful. Obviously, when you have those type of things, you still are participating in their other programs. So if all of a sudden, like, hey, during this time frame, there's this percentage off if you're a member, right? And so on. Those are the things that you could go, and part of it is because, I get when brands want to do it across the entire portfolio or their entire estate, because it helps with their marketing efforts, what might be on TV, what might be on their social media drive and their website and so on. But the thing is not everybody's market's the same at the same time. It's like, why do I need to give discounts right now? Because this is like really busy for our area and so on. Yeah. So they still allow, hey, you can maybe cap that out and so on, but there's certain participation that you have to adhere to. But if we could look at that more of a market by market type of scenario, I think that is good. So I think I've seen them being a little bit more lenient on participation. So if we have good rationale of why we don't participate, or we can do all of this. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of that marking, the little asterisks at participating hotels, right? So keep that asterisk in place so the other locations can still thrive based on their time period. But hey, let's open this up, because this is a good way, especially if we're trying to move from an OTA platform to the brand website.
Correct.
Which is, obviously more profitable for hotels.
For sure. But my favorite is like, stay 2 nights, get one free. Like, you can stay 2 nights, you can get one free. Let me make your reservation at the other hotel across.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And my whole thing is, how do you track that actually is new incremental income? What I've seen over the years is, everyone, and I get it, and I appreciate the brands are focused on how do I get them to come over here, but there's something about these loyalty programs. It's really difficult for people to move from them, because they get addicted to those points, right? And
That's
be
right.
honest. And so if all of a sudden you do you want to pull a Hilton person over to an IHG by doing a stay 2 times, get a free night, the only one that might be taking it might be the guys that are already using you in the first place.
There you go.
And so how do you measure all that? And I guess they do, and because they continue to do it, and so they see some results more on a global standpoint. But yeah, that is definitely a great point, and I appreciate that.
Because the night is never free. Someone has to pay for that.
Somebody has to pay. There's nothing free,
it's usually
right?
not the franchise.
It's not free. Yeah, exactly. It all comes back to the ownership. And I will say some of them. I know IHG's done some things when they've I've been around. It started with Priority Club, and then IHG Rewards, and then IHG, or I don't know. And now it's One Rewards and all that. So they keep changing the brand
name
of it all and the name, and So when you see and I look at it from a dollar and cents, I'm like, oh my goodness, because I also hear the voice of the guest.
That's right.
Going, why is this changing? I still have people that go Priority Club because they were conditioned that for so many years. And then they also changed the tiers, and they've renamed it. We had Aspire, remember, was the elite of elites for IHG for a while. Then it went down to, let's be Diamond. It's like, well, everybody's got Diamond now. And it's like, well, so it doesn't confuse the guests. Well, and then in order to pull them over, there would be like all these bonus points. But to IHG side, they helped basically underwrite the costs. So,
there you go.
Which is really nice to see when they can. And again, that goes back to that partnership. If you don't want to sleep on the couch, as you mentioned earlier, because you disagree with what the wife's saying, it's yeah. So we have those opportunities to, how does it look going forward? That if this is really going to be a win. And if it is really going to bring new business over here, you're making royalties already. And the more that comes over, the more you do. So that's where that handshake has to come in.
Fantastic, fantastic. What is the number one thing that you love about being a soft brand versus, because I know you've been doing this a while, you've been down every road possible when it came to franchises.
Absolutely. Well, I would have to absolutely say is the design freedom. And from that standpoint, to really do things that are wow as soon as somebody walks in, and we still did that too with our holidays. People are like, oh, this isn't like a Holiday Inn I've ever been in, because we've got blown glass chandeliers, and really cool art, but I would say definitely being able to have the design freedoms, as well as then still being a part of a global brand. All right, so, and I think having that base and the website presence. So when you search, say Hilton in Des Moines, Iowa, we're going to pop up.
Yeah, that's right.
And that does come a long way.
It
and
sure
so we have 3 tapestries throughout the Midwest currently, and 2 are in the greater Des Moines market right now, and both performing very well. And I think that brand recognition helps. But then the word of mouth really does, because hey, this is really cool. It's like nothing else, and it's not like it's not cookie cutter. It's not a box, and that's what I really truly enjoy that part. I think too, from a staff standpoint, they get it. It is really neat that they get to be a part of it. Like the executive housekeeper for this hotel has been here since this place has opened, even as a Holiday Inn 13 years ago, and then started actually at a sleep-in property with us even years before that. So it gives them a sense of that, hey, this is really neat. This is really special. So.
That is special, because I found out that like a lot of the designers, they have no housekeeping experience. They have no operation experience. So they don't understand how their design is really increasing the labor of that hotel.
Sure. Let's talk duvets, right? Have you ever tried stuffing those? I mean, I cleaned so many rooms during the pandemic in a couple of our locations. And I was like, what were you thinking with these duvet covers and stuffing those things? And it adds minutes, right? It adds time. And a lot of times, try doing that on a Saturday when you're flipping your room and you have a wedding party coming in early and all that, and you want to clean every room to the level of standard that your guests deserve. But yes, all that starts to add up. And we're blessed our owners see that, recognize it, and also participate in those type of operations and cleaned rooms, have been in our laundry, and see what it takes. So there is always that understanding. But also it has a lot to do with the finishes, and what we choose to put in the rooms that'll A, stand the test of time, but B, be functional, that the guests appreciate. Higher end stuff, but it'll last, easy to either touch up or repair or replace.
Correct.
Without a huge expense, because we'd rather take care of things and allow them to last, rather than, okay, let's add this to the landfill, and we saw that with a lot of the brand case good items, that weren't really lasting. We were refinishing them after a couple of years, and it takes a lot of time and personnel labor to do so.
And money.
Yeah, money. Yeah, it all adds up to money. Yeah, exactly. And it is. It's just like, I remember the first time we built a hotel from scratch. It was a Comfort Suites, and we used Kimball furniture, solid wood, and while it was being made in, here in the United States. And, that building was 20 years old when we turned it into a hotel Renovo, again, a real boutique hotel. And that product was still in excellent condition. Wow. And we have a Holiday Inn that was built as a Radisson. Frank Lloyd Wright mission style type of hotel,
Mhm.
and all the furnishings and the case goods in there still in pristine condition. You think it would be like new, but it's solid wood. It's not pressed. It's not all. It's solid wood, and it'll last.
It's not plywood.
Yeah, and it represents, from the beams in the lobby when you walk in to the lobby bar, to then when you go through and navigate through the entire building, all those furnishings are within it and made of the same quality. And 20 some years later, they're still in like new condition. And a lot of it too is, you attract a guest that values that and looks at it, oh, yeah, I better not put my drink on that, or spill my drink on that. Yeah, but no, we have that makes it a lot of fun.
Now, which leads me to my next question is renovations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it like with like dealing with the software and for the renovations? Is it the same cost? Is it like every 5 years, every 10 years? Is like the same standard as far as like time limitations? This has to be done. How does that work?
You're going to see it still run around the 10-year mark.
Okay.
Now, obviously, great owners and operators are going to take care of things as they go. But yeah, so you're still going to be looking at being under a PIP review or anything along those lines as we age. And again, we don't know what the guest is going to want 10 years from now. Things are changing so rapidly, and some of the things that we've really enjoyed seeing is like the backlit bathroom vanity mirrors and different things along those lines add a lot of value to the experience as folks get ready. But I think, when you look at, if you're doing it right up front, you're going to get the product to last, which is the key. And hopefully you can say, hey, this is still good. Let's not throw it away just for the sake of throwing away because it's come to somebody else's definition of end of life. That's what can be frustrating, because if it's in great condition and it still meets with the theme and the decor package, so basically the home tapestry story at this location, we're not going to change it. It's part of the name, so how do we continue to have that preserved, if you will, over
Correct.
the course of time? So don't let me say, well, this has been here 10 years, it's automatically bad.
They say the people that make the decisions as far as like when it's time, when the PIP is due, and when you need to renovate are liquidator owners.
Is that what it's been?
Making liquidator owners live rich.
There's a reason they exist, right? Yeah, and I remember having that comment with one of my franchise directors, and I said, I don't want to just throw it away for the sake of it. And he's like, well, not everybody builds it like you do. And I said, well, that's the problem, and so how do we find that middle ground? Because, and it is difficult, because I understand franchisors, they're looking to, make money too.
That's right.
And it's a little bit of everything. And, but I look at, if we're really going to try to move hospitality forward and the hotel experience, number one, you have to have incredible food and beverage, right? You have to have a restaurant that locals go to. And that's what we're blessed with. Our food and beverage, it is, let's just say it doesn't stand for nice words in our business, but we look at it, you want to have an experience that your guests really enjoy. And when they see it hopping, because that's where the locals are dining, it makes it more fun. Where a lot of operators look at the restaurant side of their business in a hotel as a necessary evil.
That's right.
So when was the last time you thought, oh, let's go to a Holiday Inn and eat dinner, hon? Or the Marriott. I mean, you just don't even think of it. And I mean, even the ones in our comp set, I kind of scratch my head. I don't even know if I know the name of their restaurant. But here, people know Johnny's Italian Steakhouse, or if it's the Machine Shed or something along those lines of part of our companies. But when we look at being able to produce that, it adds so much to not only the guest experience that is just here for an overnight or maybe a couple nights, but also our events and our banquets, because it isn't your typical hotel food that just went through a conveyor belt. You have a chef paying a lot of attention to detail of what's being executed when it's delivered. So we've been blessed with that, and I'd say when you look at that other package of it and having that food experience, and you've captured that audience and given them everything that they can go wow, it goes a long way. I'll never forget the first time I met a Platinum member when I first took over a Holiday Inn, and I was meeting the gentleman, and a really neat guy, and we were visiting, and he's like, wow, I stay in Holiday Inns everywhere. Obviously, he was Platinum at the time, and he goes, this is really neat. I'm like, oh, great. And he goes, all right. And then I told him a little bit about the restaurant, what the feature was that night, and then I'm walking around, I'm talking to the tables in the rrestaurant that evening, and Dan's sitting there at the table, and sitting at a booth, by himself, actually has a book open, not his phone, a book he's reading, and has a glass of red wine, steak in front of him, and he goes, Scott, he goes, I know I just met you, but I need you to do me a favor. I need you to take a picture of this dining room, and you need to send it to Aichi. And I go, you see something wrong? And he goes, yeah, there's people in it. And I was like, all right. And he goes, this is awesome. He goes, look, this steak is cooked perfectly medium rare, fantastic glass of wine. He goes, I want to have another, and then I can just walk to my room. He goes, they need to understand this is what we want. And I'm like, wow. And it is. It's that whole experience, and to be able to do it well, we've been blessed, Heart of America and our owners, to be able to see that and move that needle forward. And it definitely makes it fun. So even though we had it as a Holiday Inn, we kept it when we converted this to Hilton Tapestry, it still screams this is where we want to be. So.
And that is so important, because what most of them don't understand is that the money is supposed to stay in-house.
Yes.
When you set yourself up for failure, when you give a guest the opportunity to leave the hotel and spend their money somewhere else.
Absolutely. No, and the other side of it, and you see where the brands have said, okay, if you charge the food back to your room, you get points. Well, we pay for those points, right? Yeah. Which is great. If we've got the restaurant, we've captured it, and we can use it as a selling point. But so many, I think they're doing it more of to prevent issues. It's like, well, if you stay here, the restaurant's going to be okay, but you're going to get your points. We want them to go, oh, well, that was a nice addition, but the food was great. That's what we want. So
absolutely. And that was my final question, the F&B side of the soft brands. What is that like? What should we expect? What can we do? What can't we do? What are some of the things that you felt like worked great for you?
Yeah, so I would say having the freedoms of having a local branded hotel, obviously, or restaurant. You're not going to end up with one that has, XYZ national chain next door, right? So we are seeing with some of the different brands is you want a standalone, a one only, Boca with IHG's doing that, or even their Indigo products, they definitely want to make sure it's an independent, local type product.
Correct.
And I see, they're still working through a lot of that. But this is what's really working well for us, is giving us that freedom to have one of Heart of America's restaurants. That's how our company began in 1978. One little machine shed in the middle of Davenport, Iowa, but with one vision of being something really special and world renowned. And so when you can bring that brand in and showcase it and show the wow, that was something else. And we put a lot of money in the restaurant here to really give it a nice, it was already really great, but we really gave it a nice new flair, new lighting, and we even bumped out into the lobby a little bit to give a little bit more space up around the bar, because that's where we saw everybody congregating. Because again, as soon as you walk through, you're hearing the music, you're hearing the vibe, it's welcome to the party, and then that continues throughout the restaurant experience. So having it all together in these brands, in the soft brands, as part of the greater scheme or the design package, is really what's set us apart.
A lot of people don't realize, like, it's not like it used to be back in the 90s, where occupancy pretty much determined how much business the restaurant is gonna get. Like, this is its own separate operation, its own separate listing, its own separate marketing, everying.
Absolutely.
Or it's going to be an expense for you.
Absolutely. And we look at it as a great investment, getting that word out. But with our restaurants, it's where the locals go, you know, and that's, hey, let's go to Johnny's tonight. As I mentioned earlier, it's, let's go to, nobody was saying before when we were a Holiday Inn and had a Johnny's, let's go to Holiday Inn. Here they're like, well, which Johnny's? The one in West Des Moines, the one in Altoona, or the one down at the airport? They didn't really tag it with it, but it's like, we had a wedding show here yesterday, and and having people go, oh, Johnny's does all the catering, right? Yes, absolutely, for our events. So
wow, that's amazing.
So all of our private event space, you have actual fantastically fresh restaurant food, that people actually are committed and care so much about.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Scott, that ends our show for today. Scott, how can everybody get in touch with you?
Well, I'm Scott Math, and I'm a Heart of America group. So Scott Math or actually smath at HOARI.com. But obviously, you can look us up at heartofamericagroup.com.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for joining us for another episode of True Hotel Leaders, where leaders teach leaders. And we'll see you soon. You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan of hotels. And guess what we got today? The hotel front desk log. Every hotel needs this. If you're tired of having sticky notes all over the place, you're tired of putting in everything in those systems, and then just to have the internet crash or something happens, and guess what? You can't get a hold of your notes and everything else that's going on in your hotel. The hotel front desk log will get it there for you. Look what we got here. It's dated each and every day, so you could go back in history, and it doesn't require electricity. So if the power goes out, you still have your notes. You have your cashier report right here, your cash count every shift, so you know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what shift has the variance. Okay, you got your housekeeping notes over here. All right, when housekeepers first come in, you got the notes of what they need to do first, who needs what, and of course you have each front desk shift, first, second, and third shift reports. You got your OTA contact. All right, so when the front desk needs to call OTAs, they don't have to be looking all over the place. Your vendor contacts, so when the front desk has to call a vendor, the numbers and the account numbers is right here for you. Everything you need is inside this book for your front desk. Go check out the front desk log, all right, the hotel front desk log in 2023. Just click the link below or just visit frontdesklog.com and it'll take you right to this amazing log. This is the best log of the year.